Hey, I'm Haley B, and this is my baby. Is there anything that you want to say into the audience? Is there anything that you want to say on my YouTube channel, huh? So it has been a minute since I have made a video, actually almost about a year now. I have had a lot happen in the meantime. I had my baby, I've done some traveling, and I am back to YouTube. So today I want to talk about my birth experience, which was an emergency C-section. I was not expecting to have a C-section, and it was quite traumatic for me. And you might be thinking, if it was so traumatic, how can you say that it was positive? It did not start off that way, but ended up being that way. So I just wanted to share my experience with you all, because I will say that when I was going through it, it was helpful looking at some influencers and girls that I follow on social media that had a C-section, seeing their postpartum experience, because when I saw them, I never thought to myself, oh, how sad for them. It was exciting still seeing them have their baby. So it kind of put into perspective for me that this is not a sad experience. It can still be a happy one. So I was 40 weeks and 5 days when I gave birth. I had an induction scheduled for 2 days, so pretty much 41 weeks exactly, because I wanted to have a natural birth so bad. I did not even want any medication. I just wanted to go in there and pop my baby out. Obviously that's not what happened, so this is my story of what happened. I woke up in the middle of the night at exactly midnight and went to use the bathroom because I felt a thud in my stomach, like literally a pop in my stomach. And I rushed to the bathroom and there was water everywhere. It was exactly like a scene from a movie. It was just gushing out of me. I did have, I forget what it's called, polyhydramnios syndrome or something like that, where I had excess fluid throughout my pregnancy. And so I knew that when my water broke, like I was gonna know that my water broke, and it was insane. My husband, he woke up, I woke him up, I was like, my water broke. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, well, yes, I am sure, look at this. I soaked through multiple bath towels before we even made it to the hospital, and there was only 30 minutes between when my water broke and we made it to the hospital. It is currently 12:17 on 7/17, shortly after midnight, and right at exactly midnight my water broke. So I'm standing here with a towel between my legs right now because I'm literally gushing water, and we're throwing our stuff in a bag super quick. So I showed up to the hospital wearing a dress with a towel between my legs, and they had to keep changing out my bed sheets because I just kept drenching the sheets because my water would not stop coming out. I was really hopeful. Things were moving very fast for me. I was really excited, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have this baby by breakfast time. And then I ended up having back labor, so it hurt so bad. I kept screaming my asshole the entire time I was in labor before I got my epidural, because it was radiating down into my butt. So it was my lower back down to my butt. And if you've had back labor, I mean, I've never had a normal labor, so I don't know how to compare, but I've heard it's way, way worse. And I can say that I just was not able to get through it. It is almost 10 o'clock. I'm shaking filming this because I just got my epidural. You actually see, I'm sure this angle is super flattering. It's almost 10 o'clock and I just got my epidural. I'm so shaky. I went about 9 hours in labor, and I couldn't do it anymore. I got to about 5 centimeters. I was like, please get the epidural. I feel great now. I'm just really shaky. I was not even able to open my eyes for several hours while I was waiting on an epidural. I think it was at about 6:30, so I made it like 6 hours into my labor that I decided I'm gonna have the epidural. And then they didn't get to me until about 9 a.m. So I went a very long time being in excruciating pain. All I could do is just keep my eyes closed and just try to breathe through it. I didn't even know what my morning nurse looked like for the longest time because I could not open my eyes from the pain. Finally got the epidural. I was so afraid to get it, but it actually was very smooth. I had a great anesthesiologist. They did not miss. I never have had any pain from it because I was really afraid I was going to have long-term back pain. Literally everything was fine. So the epidural went totally fine. Afterwards, there was a drop in my baby's heart rate, so there was a bit of a scary moment there, but then things were fine until about 1 o'clock. I developed an infection. I realized I had a fever and called my nurse. So had the infection, things started to slow down, way down, because I was moving really fast, was dilating great, and then after my epidural, everything just kind of stalled. Then I had that infection. Things were just not progressing, no matter what positions we tried, how they moved me around the bed. I just could not dilate any further. So I made it finally to a 7.5, and that's where I stayed. And it was at about 7:30, I think I realized that day I was going to have a C-section. I was starting to get really nervous, but I was holding out because I just really wanted to have a natural birth. And then at about 10:30, we realized that my baby inside me, he was passing the stool, and so this caused a great risk, especially because I already had an infection. So I think that behind the scenes, my nurses were already calling my doctor to come in because she got there super fast. She came in at about 11 o'clock, and she was like, "I think you already know what I'm gonna say." I was like, "Yes." I was so upset and so afraid. But I knew that it had to happen because honestly, I think that if a C-section was not possible for me, I really honestly believe that me and my baby would have died because it was that dire of a situation. So I said, "Can you please just do one thing for me? Can we have this baby before midnight?" Because I wanted the birthday of 7/17 because I thought it sounded like a magical number. So they were like, "Yes." They got me in within like 10 minutes. I was back there on the operating table, and he was out within probably about 7 minutes of them starting the surgery. I was so afraid with the C-section. I was shaking. I felt like my body could have just levitated off the operating table and hit the ceiling. I was so afraid. I could barely speak. I was shaking so bad.
We're gonna get some little one. You're gonna watch the pressure on the top of your belly. I'm nervous.
Make it a fun experience for me. They were asking me what kind of music I like to listen to. I was like, I don't even know what music is in this moment. I could not give an answer. I even had a whole playlist made, and I just could not think in that moment. I was so afraid. All I could focus on was I just wanted my baby out of me, and I wanted the experience to be over, and I wanted to be back home. I kept saying I just want to go home. And so they did their best to make it a fun experience. The staff and the nurses and everybody, they were so sweet and so nice. And then they got him out of me super fast, and they knew that I did not know the gender of my baby, so they kept that special for me still. So that was still very memorable, and I love that I got to have that experience still. So having a C-section did not take that away from me.
Yes.
Good deep breaths. This little one's coming out.
Mama, we don't know yet, okay? We don't know yet. I'm gonna give you a quick look here. What is it?
It's a boy.
Yeah, we're gonna get him clean. The girls can get him.
And then when they took him out, they realized that he had ingested quite a bit of fluid from everything that was going on. So he had to be on oxygen for a while.
So he's kind of having a little hard time during this transition phase. He's just having a struggle.
And during that time, I just went back to my room and I slept. And I slept for like 7 hours. So I woke up at about 7 a.m. At this point, I'd only briefly seen my baby. I knew that he was in the nursery, under a warmer, getting oxygen, and that everything was fine. My husband had been back to see him. And I really was not upset or worried. Looking back on it, this is really out of character for me. I feel like if somebody would have told me you're gonna have a C-section and then be separated from the baby for 7 hours, I would have been really upset. But in the moment, I really needed that time to rest my body because I had been in labor for 23.5 hours at that point. So I was really glad to get some sleep with my baby and knew he was in good hands, so I was not nervous. And then once I woke up, I actually was able to stand and walk and go to the bathroom, and the nurses were super impressed, and they said I was walking around like somebody that had just had a vaginal delivery. So I did really good with the C-section. They put me in a wheelchair, took me down to the nursery, and they set up like a private little area with some like curtain off room for me and my husband. They brought my husband a coffee and me a hot tea. I got my baby, immediately did skin to skin. He immediately latched. We did breastfeeding. So I still got to have a super special moment with my baby, even though I had a C-section. But when we got home, this is when things started to feel different for me. I think the biggest thing for me is I had such an expectation and such an image in my mind of what coming home with my baby would look like. And this did not involve me having stitches in my abdomen and having 7 layers of my body cut open and being able to barely walk. So I think this is where I started to feel sad about the situation. When we got home, the first day that we left the hospital, we came home, I looked in the mirror and I was so swollen. My hair was so greasy. I just looked horrible and I just felt so sad and defeated. My legs from my hips down to my feet were just one solid size, like a tree trunk. I was that swollen. But gradually the swelling did go away. It was really hard for me to accept that I couldn't just get up and go like I had been. I wasn't even allowed to vacuum my floors, and I am a clean freak, so this was really upsetting for me. I actually cried in the hospital when the nurse said I couldn't even vacuum my floors. So I was just really upset that I had these restrictions. But when you're someone like me, and you might be able to resonate with this, is that you're used to always being up and being able to do what you want, and then having that restriction of movement was just really upsetting when you were not expecting it whatsoever. I think if I went into it knowing this is going to happen, my expectations would have been totally different. I will say that my incision, it did not hurt. I took ibuprofen for a few days and that was it. I didn't have any special pain medication I took. It really was not painful at all. I've had other surgeries in the past and needed heavy pain medication for it, and this was not bad at all. I just needed some ibuprofen. I did not look at my incision for a really long time. I think it's after a week after your C-section is when they say you can take off the bandage. I had my husband do this for me and I cried while it happened. I actually cried any time for like the first 2 weeks that anybody even mentioned the word C-section around me because I felt so traumatized by the entire experience. Once I finally did look at my incision, I was like, oh, that's not even that bad. It's probably about, I would show you guys, but it's like really down there. It's a very discreet place. Probably about that big, maybe about like 4.5 inches, 5 inches across. I've been using scar cream since probably about a month postpartum, and the scar is very, very small. Like you can barely see it. You would have to be really close up on me to know that I had a C-section scar. And I will say I got really lucky with my husband, Trey. He works in healthcare, so he was able to monitor my incision and help me keep it clean. So that gave me a great peace of mind because I have no healthcare experience. And if my husband did not have healthcare experience, I feel like that would have added even more stress to my life during this period, trying to make sure that I was healing correctly. And my husband, where he's a physical therapist, was able to teach me how to correctly move my body postpartum, so that way my incision and my abdomen could heal correctly. He also taught me how to do scar massage, and I think that helped a lot because I don't have any sensitivity on my scar. I only had a little bit of numbing after the procedure, but I've heard a lot of girls where they have like a shooting pain go through their scar. That did not happen to me. So I was very thankful for him and his help with that. Over time, I just slowly started getting more and more mobile. I would get up and off the floor. I started sitting Indian style and getting up and off my knees. And everything just started to feel more like myself again. And I was able to take care of my baby and have that postpartum experience that I had in my mind all along. It just took some time to let my body rest and heal because it was a major surgery. So the pros of having C-section, I would say, I'm going to read from my list, is one, I had no tearing. I was so afraid I was going to tear. So had no tearing down there. I did not have any prolapse of any kind, which I was also afraid might happen. I don't have any issues with like holding my urine or anything. I don't have any type of issues down there whatsoever because there was no chance of damage happening. It was a predictable birth. Having a C-section is predictable. You know what's going to happen. You're going to go in, they're going to cut you open, take the baby out, and sew you back up. There are really low risks of things that could happen and really no chance for a surprise. Where if you're having a vaginal birth, there is that chance that you don't know what's going to happen. You could end up still having a C-section. You could tear, you could have that prolapse. Just some issues that I was really worried that would happen. I didn't even have to worry about it after all. Another pro is that my baby is perfectly healthy and fine. He came out beautiful. He has a beautiful round C-section baby head, and I'm just very thankful at the end of the day. That is the only thing that matters, is that he was able to come out of me and be okay. They could have cut me open in the middle of my hospital room without any sedation whatsoever, and I would have been okay with that because I just wanted my baby at the end of the day. Con of it is a major surgery, so that sucks that I have to add it to my medical history, but at the end of the day, it is just a surgery and you are going to heal from it. Con, having a scar, nobody wants a scar on their body, but like I mentioned, I've been using scar cream and scar massage, and it's very light in color and not very noticeable place at all, and you wouldn't even know that I have it unless you're close to me. Another con is it's not how I expected it was going to go. It's not what I planned. I'm a type A person. I love to plan, and I did not have this on my bingo card, and so that was really upsetting to me. But the biggest con I would say for me is that I felt like I had a loss of an experience. I was so excited to have a natural birth. I didn't want any medication. I wanted to experience having a vaginal birth and having my baby come out and then having him placed on my chest. And I did not get to experience that. So that will always be something that I wish I could experience in my lifetime. But at the end of the day, I have came to terms with it that was just not in my cards. I did not get to have that, and I probably won't get to because the hospital that I go to, they do not do VBACs. But I again have came to terms that this is my situation and that I will have C-sections in the future with my future babies. But again, I have all those pros. I'm not gonna have any prolapse, I'm not gonna have any tearing. I'm still gonna have that magical moment with my baby when I'm off the operating table. And at the end of the day, again, I'm gonna have my baby. So C-section or vaginal birth, the most important part is that you just have your baby. So this is my story and my C-section. So this is my C-section story. It went from being an emergency, something very unpredictable, and then ended up being something I was super sad about. But at the end of the day, I did heal from my surgery, and it's like it was nothing. In the moment, it seemed like such a big deal, and now it's just something that happened to me, and I was able to move forward. I have my baby, and that's the only thing that matters. I'm healthy, my baby's healthy, and I plan on having future babies via C-section, and everything is going to be just fine. Thank you for following along my positive C-section story. I hope that you are able to find some sort of connection or peace while watching this video, realizing that having a C-section is not the end of the world. It does not mean that your experience is not special. It's just different, and you will heal from it. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you and your baby are healthy and safe. I plan on making more videos, getting back into my YouTube channel. I have some upcoming trips planned to the Virgin Islands and Massachusetts that I will be vlogging. You can also follow me on Instagram at HeyHaleyB, where I share behind the scenes of my everyday life. Until next time, bye.